So the first thing I'm going to do, because it makes no difference even if I do decide to leave that there, is drill my little hole here, which becomes my location point. If we lose this ridge, I don't lose where this is supposed to go. Seems to be taking a lot to get through. No, nearly there. It's just thick plastic. There we go. So whatever happens, I will not lose where what is the fuel filling cap should be located. So there you go, that's our first job. Right. So next thing to look at is what the fuel filler cap looks like. So I need to get the instructions, find the part and have a test fit. Okay, this is our fuel filler cap, which was chromed and has been stripped. So to get this to fit and just do a test fit, I need to trim off the sprue gates, which are getting in the way. Okay, and I need to sand the underneath to make it flush. Now, that's because there's a sort of ejector pin right in the middle, which has left a lip, and I need to take the lip off. I'm not going to take the pin off because I want to see if the pin is part of raising the height correctly. No, it's not. No, it's not. And actually, as I look at the part, there is a ring around the edge of the part that is creating a ring. So we can get rid of that and we can just use this part as is. So we're just going to put some shape back into that. There is a lot of manual shaping of some of these parts to be done. So this is a 600 sponge. And I'm just by eye. I've only got my reading glasses on as well. I'm being, and the height of the ring is uneven, so I'm just going to take that down a little bit. This is a 400 sanding stick. Yeah, the height of the ring is uneven. I don't know if you can see, so it's thicker there, then it's dipping down and getting quite thin, whereas on this side it's quite thick. I wonder if I've got something that I could make a ring from. Unfortunately, my widest plastic tube is a little narrower, but I do wonder if we could maybe use this to form a lip, sand the lip off, glue a strip of this all the way around, and then just sand it flush. I think we possibly could. So what I'm going to do, I don't need to focus on this part right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sand this flat while I'm thinking about it. So the plastic is quite hard, I've found, so I'm going to go with a file and take that down so it's flush. we go. So that's going to go in okay there. Right, I can put that to one side, and I now know we can get rid of that. It's quite a tall ridge, so we'll start with the file and rough it out. Being careful not to do any damage to the bodywork. There we go, we're taking that down a fair bit, but not all the way. And you know when you've got it evenly out, because the whole of the area will go from the shiny plastic it started out at to the matte. So I think that'll do for now, because when we prime it we'll find any other issues. I'm just going to get my awl and pop through that hole there. It's a remarkably thick plastic, you don't realise, because it's thin here. In some places it's really thick. There you go. Don't want to lose my location hole. Bung it up with sanding dust and then paint over it, and you never know. Okay, we'll deal with that later. Okay, so that's our first job. Next thing is, and probably the most major thing, is the windscreen wipers. So before I can remove them, I've got to know I've got a replacement that works. And this is my hope for that. So we're going to have a look at this. So these are wipers for all cars. When I bought it, it was under 124 scale. So let's just have a look. Aber is actually my favourite brand of photo etch. We don't talk about photo etch brands very much. Aber were around long before Edward, and some of their upgrade sets are truly monumental. Their Tamiya Famo set is truly monumental. So what have we got? We've got 3 parts to make up. Okay. So we've got an arm, a blade, and then this thing that holds the blade onto the arm, which would be the thing that makes the arm rock in real life. Okay, so that means when you fold this part, you can see here in the instruction, you have a little gap. So that means we need to leave the end as the little spigot that the arm goes on. Okay, well that's doable. Right, next thing is, have we got an arm that's the right length? Are we wanting the shorter arm or the longer arm? Looks to me like we want the shorter arm. If I put that there, yeah, looks like we want the shorter arm. And then in terms of the blade, I think they're all the same size, the blades, to be honest. Oh no, these are longer ones. Yeah, that's too long. So shorter arms, shorter blades. Okay, let's make one up and just prove to myself that I'm not a bumbling idiot that can't make up this simple bit of photo etch. And then that gives me the confidence to get the chisels out. I am often asked, about photo etch, about tools for bending photo etch, and how to go around bending photo etch that has narrow folds in, because often they're narrower than Holden folds, which loads of people buy. Indeed, I've got two. I hardly ever use them. So I'm going to show you. Firstly, the tool that I'm using to remove this is a number 11 blade with the tip snapped off. And then that has been with a sharpening stone shaped to become a flat chisel-like point. So I've got a 2mm flat chisel-like point. And what that allows me to do, rather than using the edge of your knife and putting pressure on and possibly snapping the blade, and having to drag across the the part that holds it into place, I can cut in a downwards direction so that I'm going directly square on with what I want to cut, and that gives me a much cleaner cut every time. So we're going to use the smaller blades for this, the smaller arms I should say. So what I've done is I've dragged the blade across until I can feel I'm right hard up against the edge. Then I square it up so that is 90 degrees angle, and gently push down till I hear it clip through. There we go. And then with a bit of luck, we've removed the part without any need for additional cleanup. Now I do always check the part. Sometimes it's not perfect. So if you do feel you want to clean the part up, 400 or 600 sanding stick will do nicely. Don't put any pressure on, just loosely drag it across, and then you're not likely to deform the metal as you clean it up. So for folding a thin part like this, I actually use one of these tools. You can get them on eBay. I got this off eBay. If you just put photo etch tools in or folding tool, this will pop up. I've used this for years. You can see it's mucky. I probably need to clean it up. I've used it for years and it's my favourite folding tool, and it works on the principle that I used as a kid for folding photo etch before the invention of the need for tools. If you've not got one of these, then a good quality thin steel rule will do. Okay, so this is a Fisher steel rule, probably the best brand, quality brand of steel rules, but look how thin it is. It's actually only marginally thicker than this tool. So this would do as well. It does exactly the same job. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my part over so I'm folding in the right direction. I'm going to find a tab that's the right length. You couldn't use something like Tamiya folding tweezers for this. I love the Tamiya folding tweezers. I have both sizes and I use them a lot, but they do have some drawbacks. The taper is one of them. The fact that they don't actually make contact along the full length is one of them. But you could fold one side with this, but not necessarily the other. The other thing is they're not as precise. So what I'm gonna do is gonna give me a bit more precision. Let's see if we can get you in a bit closer. There we go. So I'm holding this on the edge we want to bend. I'm putting my razor blade underneath and getting it exactly to the 90 degrees point. There we go. And then I can put my tool on the outside edge and fold again. And that's it, that's the arm made. So if we just turn that over, you can see there we go, and that just needs to be painted in. So let's have a look at that on the car, see what that looks like. So if we say that's where it's starting from, yeah, I think the arm is still a little longer than on the model, which means we're probably going to get that wiper a bit closer to the edge. I do need to just check whereabouts that is on the real car in the grille, because it's not central, and I would have expected it to be more in the middle. I mean, you know, I might be wrong, but if we moved it that way a little bit, that might look better. Yeah, right. So my conclusion is we can replace the wipers, and maybe we want to move the wiper motors a tad as well, which will allow us to then get the optimum position for the wiper arm. Therefore, our next job is to remove the wipers, keep that one safe. So yeah, excellent. Let's strip that out. Okay, whilst filming, I'm just gonna zoom you out a little bit. Whilst filming, my my locks have arrived. So here they are, variety of different sizes from 2mm down to 0.5 mm. So just going to have a quick look, because while we've got the chisels out, we can remove that. So I reckon probably the 8mm would look good. There should be a lockable cover on the inside of the car as well, so we can use one of these locks for that. So these are brilliant. I got these in the UK from Hero Boy. If you make cars, model cars, and you exist on the planet Earth in the UK, then you will absolutely have come across Hero Boy. The problem with Hero Boy is, I mean, they're a great supplier. The problem is they always have much more stuff out of stock than in stock, and that's always a frustration. Most of the time, most of the things that you want are out of stock, which is a bit annoying, but there you go. I've got my locks, so I can remove my locks. So I guess then there's only really the handles left to deal with that we need to remove. So I can't buy replacement handles, so we're gonna make some. So actually, so I can do my chisel work all at one time, we're gonna make the handles next. Okay, so what do we need if we want to make a replacement door handle? Well, it's actually a remarkably simple process. What you're going to need is you're going to need a piece of standard kitchen tinfoil. Don't worry about having patterns on it. This has got a sort of honeycomb pattern on it. Don't worry about that. But you want it to be as thin as possible. So you know how the more you spend on foil, the better quality it is? Well, in this instance, you want to go the other way. Spend as little as you can, get as thin a foil as possible. So we've got two handles, we're gonna need two pieces. So that's the first thing we need. We need some foil. We're also going to need a cocktail stick or toothpick, depending on where you are in the world. I'm also going to be using this. This is a Tamiya pointed cotton bud. That can be quite handy as well. we're going to need some medium CA glue, and I'm also going to be using this product from VMS, which is CA glue filler, which is a powder. You don't need this. If you've not got this, don't worry. You can build it up, build the part up with CA glue. Now, I keep meaning to try, but haven't done yet, to make these parts out of resin, UV resin, which you can use to replace the CA glue. You'll understand the process in a minute when we do it, and then you can bake it under the UV light and make it hard, which will give you a hard, clear part. But I've never tried it, so I don't want to. I might do, but I don't want to do it right now. I'm going to stick with what I know. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the bit of foil. In fact, I'm going to cut this foil in half again because we only need a small amount really. And we're going to place it over the handle like so, and I'm just going to fold that in. That's going to help with that stopping moving, but don't tape it down or anything like that. You don't want to keep the foil taut. You want it to be able to move around with what you're about to do. So first of all, I'll start by rubbing my finger over it so we can see where the part is, and then my next process is to go in with this pointy cotton bud and just go around the edges and smooth it out. The reason I'm using this is it's not quite as hard as the cocktail stick, and so it's less likely to rip the foil at this stage. So we're just tracing the edges, making the foil conform to shape. There we go. So that is roughly right, and any stretching of the foil around that is now complete. So you can now stick down the foil to stop it moving about and make your life a little bit easier. So these are some offcuts that I had from a previous paint masking job. You know, I have people criticize me for not throwing tape away immediately after I've used it, but it comes in handy for jobs like this. So yeah, okay, so that's not going to move around, and I've got my hands free now. So just going to go back round and get it smooth around the part to the body as well. Okay. Now I'm going to go in with the cocktail stick, and we can go in and we can just gently push it right up, get right into that detail. You can see the little bit underneath there is starting to show, which we couldn't see before. And it's important that we are completely right into the edges, as sharp as possible. It's also important we do not rip that foil. So rather than dragging it where we could cause a rip and indeed a wrinkle, I'm just pressing down with it. There we go. So I can take that off now. Carefully. And what I can see is I've managed to rip it underneath. So I need to do that again. I'm not going to make you wait while I do it, so I'll do it again and then I'll immediately come back to you. Okay, we have traced out our part without ripping the foil, which can be a challenge, but you know, just keep doing it until you get it right. It's actually quite a deep handle. So yeah, I don't know whether it's actually deeper than on the real thing, don't know. Okay, what we're going to do, we've turned it upside down, so we've got the shape facing downwards, and we're now going to fill it with some CA glue. So this is a medium CA, like I said, and we're just going to drop some in like that. Now as it dries, it will sink in a little bit. And we might find that the part's oversized. So I find that adding a bit of this powder, just completely missed the part. Adding a bit of this powder just helps if I have to do any sanding. So ordinarily, you make a filler using this powder and mixing it with the glue. It makes the glue a little bit more robust, and then you can sand it and what have you. So if we mix the glue and this VMS powder together over where our part is, it should, in theory, harden nicely and be sandable, and that's it. That's all you have to do. We let that dry. You then pop it out of the foil. CA does not bond to the foil, and that's your part. Now obviously the CA is going to bond to the foil, but that's what we want, because we're going to use the foil. We're going to cut this part out, and we can use it as indeed a pre-chromed part. Now foil usually is aluminium, and a lot of parts, trim parts, are aluminium, so it's perfect colour. You can of course paint them, so if you want to chrome it you can do, but I'm going to let that dry, then I'll come back to you and show you how we do cutting that out to make the part. So I'll put that to one side. I'm going to make the other handle, but before I do that, I am going to say to you, you can do this for the locks as well. So exactly the same process. Flatten it out with your finger, give it a nice sharp edge, spot of glue in it, and then you've got the part. Now I've never tried it with lettering, but I believe it's doable. So there's a logo on the back here. I'm just interested to see. You can see why you want your foil to be as thin as possible. So there we go. We can absolutely put glue in the back of that and put that on if we want. So while I've got my glue out, we might as well have a go at that. Hi, hope you're enjoying the video. I put a lot of effort into making these videos, putting them together, recording them, editing. It takes up so much time. I would really love it if you could just hit that like button for me. It will take you a fraction of a second and it costs you nothing, and it means so much to me and the channel, and will help other people who might enjoy this video find it. You done it? Thank you. Okay, let's get these windscreen wipers off. So I'm going to do this with chisels. So I find that that is apparently the correct way to use a chisel. But I find doing it that way just a lot easier. I don't know why. I'm probably not doing it right. There we go. So I was told I'd have more control if I did it this way. I'm not sure. I keep trying it one way and then another way, and I can't say that I find a lot of difference. Now you notice that I just slipped a couple of times. So one thing you can do to prevent that is just divide the part up a little bit into sections. And then that little cut you put in for a section acts as like a stop, and it prevents the slipping. See? Now as I'm looking at this with my magnifying glasses on, there's actually, looks like a cable or something that's been moulded in, or it's a moulding fault. I can't believe there'd be a cable unless the windscreen washer tube goes on the outside of the wiper. I'll have to have a look at that. Now then, before we take the rest of the arm out here, best thing to do is to level this off so that we can form this sill shape as we go.
Slowly, carefully gets you where you need to be. We can do some fine shaping later on. Bit of sandpaper, whatever we need to do.
In fact, I'm thinking
so this is a 220 grit. There we go, that's starting to take shape now. So we've just got this little bit to take away. So I'm just going to, there's my other chisel, just going to put the sill edge shape in to start with. Just making sure I'm still in camera, yeah. So that gently slopes away. Okay, so we can now go in and start smoothing that out. At this stage it's not perfect, absolutely not perfect, and we may have to do a little bit of filling to correct the shape. But that can all be done when we've primed and we can see what we're doing. But that is one windscreen wiper done, and in fairness that's probably the easier one to remove. Yeah, I've just nicked into this a little bit, but otherwise we're all good. I'm just put the definition in underneath here now, so that it's absolutely a separate part. So I'm using the very, very tip of my blade here just to go along and sharpen up the curve of the moulding, because when this will have been moulded, it'll have gone down and then gently moved in, so you've got a rounded corner, and I want to sharpen that up so that you've got a part that's been fitted on top of a part. I want it to look like that. These little things make such a difference. So if you look at that windscreen now, look how much sharper that looks compared to that where I've not done it, where you've got this sort of rounded curve. Yeah, it's a very subtle difference, but when you come to paint it, you'll be surprised what a difference it makes. Okay, having done the first one, there's always a learning process, isn't there? So having done the first one, the second one, my learning is, let's level this off first. Okay, now we can take the excess plastic off the back. It's much thinner, so it's easier to do. There we go. So just making sure I've got this back edge nice and straight and as I want it. Because we have the windscreen wipers there, the plastic is bulged out. It shouldn't get in the way of the windscreen, but we are going to have a look on the inside here, and as I run my finger over it, it's really bumpy, so that also needs a clean up. We don't want anything that's going to hold the glass away from fitting. That's better. Okay, I think we are ready for removing that arm now. So what I want to do is put this vent hard top edge in first. I need to hold the back of it because I don't want to break this. That'll do to start with, and we'll see how well we've done that in a mo. Yeah, not too bad. Now, when I look at the bodywork here, can you see how,
Let me get a pencil, be easier.
see how the depth there is much greater than the depth there? That's because this edge here isn't straight. Can you see that?
So this is thickened up as it's got towards the
wiper blade. So actually this section needs to be thinned down a little bit from about here. So again, it's a little job for the small chisel, and that's important because I need to cut through this in line with that. So just going to pare that back a little bit. There, that's looking better. So now I can take that back edge and use that to give me my line for removing this wiper blade. A little lump just there. I can feel it when I scrape over. Okay, that is starting to look the part now. There we go. Now I won't know how well we've done really until we put some primer down, but right now that's not looking bad at all. And we can always sort it out. So the next thing we've got to sort out is this part here. So first of all, I'm just going to scrape it back, straighten the line up. Okay, and then we've got to put these lines back in. So I want to put the grill back in, and the best way to do that is with a triangular file. So we can use one of these edges just to align ourselves in what already exists and gently put back in what's there, or what should be there. It's not easy. But we are slowly returning the original look. Okay.
So I think we've restored the grill, but there is a way we can check. Working with white plastic, I always think is the most difficult plastic to work with. It's so difficult to see where you are with things. But that looks like we restored the grill to me.
So yeah,
that's going to look okay. When we've painted it, put a little wash in to highlight it a little bit, that's okay. So I'm happy with that. I think if I don't mind saying so myself, I've not done too bad a job there. So the real proof is when we put some primer on and see how straight that edge is and what that is, but there's nothing we can't then work on thereafter. So that is probably the most difficult task we've got to do on the body done. I want to remove these, but I won't be doing that until I've made a hinge, and I need to look at how that hinge works on the real car. So the way to do it is to look at each individual part of the body and go, right, what do I need to do? So the next thing I need to do is actually deepen these lines a little bit so we don't lose definition when we're painting. So I need to find a little scraper for that. I think that one will do. Got some sanding to do there. Feel that that's higher than that, which, you know, 1960s build quality could be the case, but I don't think so. Okay, so next we could do the front quarter, and on the all four of the quarter panels we've got this little thing here that shouldn't be here, so that should be flush, but we do want a witness of it because there's a light to go in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to gently scrape on the inside of this raised line. Right, so I'm just going to go back round again, make sure that I'm happy it's nice and deep. Our bezel's actually going to end up being a little bit narrower than it is on the real thing, but it's certainly going to look better than, or closer to the real thing than it does now. Okay, I'm going to gently sand this away now. So I'm using a 400 grit. Right, again, a little bit difficult to see because of the white plastic. So I just want to check that it's all okay. Now we can deepen this now with a knife blade. Now we've sort of scratched it in. There you go. It is definitely there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my, this is actually a wood carving knife in theory. I'm just going to make sure that this is nice and deep. And again, every time we put some primer on, we will just carve that back out. There you go. That works well. Does exactly what we want. We've now got a flush light fitting that we can find, and that looks so much better than that, which should never be there. So yeah, definitely making progress. I can tell that we've got a lot of sanding to do. I mean, we've got lumps and all sorts on here, so the key is to keep, every time we sand, tracing that out, and a spot of panel liner is working well to keep it visible. So on this top edge here we have a seam, which is what we've highlighted in the black pen. So we want to take that down a little bit. So I'm going to use an 800 here just to round it off. That feels better already. Yeah, that's feeling much smoother. There's a bigger lip than I thought in a couple of places, so I'm just using a 400 to take it down and then back to the 800 to finish that off. And that gives us a nice sharp edge but without the mould seam line on it. And we can check we've done a good job of that once again when we primer it. So next job is just to put that door jamb definition in. Now there is some damage or unevenness here at the bottom edge of the panel. So again with my 800 I'm just going to smooth that out ahead of priming. And see what happens when we prime. If I go over this with the 800, in fact, let me, I've got a sponge here, this is 1000. And just mat it down. Any low points will show as still being shiny. And actually there's not many of them, it's not bad. So I think that panel is good to go on the surface. We've got some clean up to do in the wheel arch. You can see it's a bit lumpy. So you can also see it's thick plastic there, a bit thinner, there's a mould seam and all that sort of stuff. So again, a little bit of scraping should sort that out. Unlike sanding, when you're scraping, you're sort of following the edge. So you're not deforming the part, whereas with sanding you can change the shape. And all I want to do is round the edge. The steel would have been rounded in, so that's what I want to do. There we go. Right, I'll show you interesting points as we go, but you get an idea of what we're doing now, making it look presentable.